Welcome to this MAIA Knowledge Tools launch event. We from the BAS Center for Climate Change, we are MAIA project coordinator, and we are so happy to have you this afternoon with us for the launch of one of the main outcomes from our EU-funded project. So let's review the agenda before to go in deep with the session. So now we have 5 minutes to let the people join the room, to welcome you. Then I will introduce you into what the MAIA project is, what we have been working in the last months, and which is the aim of the project, and why we found this need on some knowledge management tools. I will introduce them on them, and afterwards we will have splitted sessions with each of our colleagues from the MAIA consortium, that they will describe each of the tools that we have been working in, and we have like 3 main sessions, and in between we will have a live Q&A session, just to share your questions about the connectivity hub and the taxonomy that our colleagues who kind of developed. And then for sure at the very end, before the farewell, we also may have some room for any other questions, but don't hesitate, because we will be available for you from after the event. First of all, just some housekeeping questions. I will ask you to keep your mics. Camera is not that complicated, but keep your mics off out of this Q&A session. If you have any questions, you may write in the chat during the own presentations, and we will read during the Q&A session. The session, it's being recorded, okay? And after the session, we will share the information, the relevant information. So the presentation or any other information that we may consider relevant for the audience. That's all. We will wait a couple of more minutes, and at 5 we will start with the introduction.
Well, we already have 40 people in the room, so I guess we can go straight forward. Yeah, we can start.
Thank you. So Sukaine, we can move to the very first. That is okay. So MAIA project is a Horizon Europe funded project. We start working on September 2022. This project is a coordination and support action with a quite comprehensive consortium with stakeholders, with partners from different natures, from companies to research centers to communication experts, universities. So in the end, from the consortium, we bring the different expertises to tackle the issue that the topic sets on the work program on 2021, which was to maximize the impact and the synergies on the European climate change research and innovation, let's say, landscape. So on how this information that we have been generating through years, how to maximize the impact after the own projects or the own research outcomes creation. So if we can continue, Sukaina, yeah. So according to the challenge set by the topic, MAIA aims to act as an impact multiplier of climate research projects found under the 2 previous programs. As you know, from the Horizon 2020 on Horizon Europe, we have different programs talking about climate research. So we have the societal challenges, then we jump into the cluster. Nowadays, we also have the missions for adaptation, the missions for cities. So there are many projects generating results. And MAIA, what it's looking for is to maximize the impact of this project results. So not let them just to be a paper on a repository, a deliverable, a website, a communication paper just to make them more accessible and usable, which is quite challenging at the moment. Next, please. So what we did is to bring the previous experiences from different projects, because some of us already shared consortium in previous projects. So we brought the experience from previous projects, put it together, and developed this new concept about how to make the information first more usable, more interoperable, and how to impact on larger audiences, considering all the stakeholders. So from the very individual one as a civil society up to the governments or the policymakers. Next, please. So in this context, I would like to take this dispersed knowledge, and our aim is to take this dispersed knowledge and make them more interoperable, more accessible, more usable, and in the end, which is the main challenge for this kind of programs, and if you have been working on a new funded project, the main challenge in the end is what happens beyond the project duration. So a part of these tools that make us, that is most of the content that we're going to discuss today, which tool allow us to make the knowledge more accessible, interoperable. We are also working on how to render some business cases that make these outcomes sustainable in the time in terms of economics. So how to build business cases, business stories that allow us through this knowledge management to, for sure, provide the requested impact or support, but in a way which is sustainable in the time, not depending on a succession of projects, which is what sometimes happen. Next, please. And these are the main challenges, the main issues that we found. No, the limited richness, that we have a lot of results, and you can check it on Cortis, on different repositories. On Zenodo, we have a huge amount of papers, databases, policy briefs that are largely fragmented. So the accessibility is not easy every time. The visibility of these results, and which is more interesting when we translate these results as a paper, as a communication, into impact. So when the information becomes on something real for our societies. And this is what we are working this, and combining all this is how we created the work that we are involved in. Next, please. So this is the three pillars we are working through are the complementarity of these informations, the cross-fertilization between different ways. So we are not working on separate ways, like the communication is something and the knowledge management tools are another thing. We are working all together, trying to building bridges between different areas, and for sure the coherence of research results when are communicated. Next, please. So as most of us know, climate change issues on other levels. So when we are fighting on adaptation and mitigation, these problems are complex. So we require a systemic approach when dealing with these problems. So we need first a relevant engagement. So as I mentioned at the beginning, from individuals to these big stakeholders, to be engaged in the whole process, to make sure that they access, internalize, and act upon the right information, and then for sure to provide the relevant structure as the management tools that we are going to introduce you today, in order to make sure that we maximize the impact of the information received. Next, please. So this is the whole landscape we have been working in and what is expected from MAIA as a project. So first, the coordination of a climate resilience project cluster. So we have different working groups that have been working on different topics, from communication to the regional aspect when dealing with climate resilience. So to coordinate this project that have been or are working on climate resilience, Then for sure, the creation of these technological structures, and this is how we call these knowledge tools at the very beginning of the project. So the creation on those tools and services that will allow you to keep working on how to access this information, and then for sure to activate this community that you are from now. I consider that you, by attending to this meeting, you are part of this pan-European community of solvers and enablers. So to activate this community through session like this one, today we are just talking about the knowledge tools, but we also have communication campaigns, actions on social media, participation on policy roundtables. So through different activities, we are activating this network through the different tools and activities that MAIA is promoting on the last years. Next slide, please. And for sure, nobody is not invited. So everybody is invited to this activity, to this action. This is not just an activity for scientists or for policymakers. We are also considering the civil society. That we have some civil policies, so science citizenships dialogues. We also have policy roundtables dealing with decision makers at regional scope and national scope, at EU scope. And for sure, and this is quite interesting, and I think probably for the main user for these knowledge tools, we will see it later, are the members to these innovation ecosystems, which are, as I mentioned at the beginning, these that are changing this knowledge into, transforming this knowledge into usable tools, into real experiences. So these are enterprises, startups, practitioners, urban planners. All of you are considered as an audience for MAIA project. Next slide, please. So in the end, the main benefits that we would like to share with you is to connect this dispersed knowledge, to make it usable, and to facilitate the access to these different audiences to this information, always for sure with the aim of maximizing the impact. So we would like all these project results to become on real facts for our realities. I think with this, I conclude with my introduction. Thank you for the time. If you have any other question about MAIA project, you may browse the website. There are different tabs. Indeed, so in fact, the website have been reviewed a few weeks ago. So good to know about you if you have any question about the project. So Sukaina, we can jump into the next slides, please. Okay, now it's time to make a really brief introduction on the project, on the knowledge tools. First, where I can find, okay, now we're going to talk about the connectivity hub, the summarizer, the MAIA services. Inigo, where can I find this? So as you can see in the screen, it's just such easy as select the knowledge tab in our website, and the menu will offer you the opportunity to join these tools on the knowledge management tools, the discovery services, any question related with communication, and for sure you are feel free to navigate on the other tabs to find more information or opportunities related with MAIA projects. Sukaina, next slide, please. Okay, so what we are going to talk about today. Main tools. The first part of, so just after this presentation, so Sukaina from the Stockholm Environment Institute will share the information about the Climate Connectivity Hub and the Climate Change Taxonomy, especially about the Climate Connectivity Hub, what it is a tool that really is the navigation through different terms. As you know, we don't have a standardized way to categorize our knowledge, so we use different words. So this Sukaina will explain more in depth, but it really is to navigate through the different keywords, the organizations and projects that are working in, the different articles that we have available in a very graphic and easy way. Then we have the summarize, which is a quite wide range of tools, AI-based tools focused on the knowledge extraction and sharing information based on AI tools. Then a special mention for this is a little mention to the climate change mitigation portal, which is a portal that we are managing from MAIA project with different blog posts about climate change adaptation and mitigation, which is this is a portal that has been working from previous projects, and now MAIA is the responsible to manage them. And then these MAIA discovery services, which are the way how we translate all this information into services, which Andrea or colleagues from Smart Cities Consulting will explain us how we are building an AI-based with different stages to make all the available information and make a kind of tailor-made case for you as a local government, as it really depends on your nature, on how, but they will explain much better than you. This is the brief introduction on the project. Now I would like to jump into the Menti for a second. Sophia, if we can share. Okay, so now is a few minutes just to know you in a better way. Let's jump into this Menti. For sure, you will be you used this tool in the past. There are two options. You can take your mobile phone and scan the QR code, or jump into menti.com and enter the code. And then we have there
yeah, we posted the link on the chat, Inigo, so everybody can
same on the chat is the link. Thank you, Mariana.
And start answering. The idea is to know you better and to know how you are dealing with the knowledge tools in other projects on your daily work.
Got it. Now it's time to meet you on who we are sharing the session today. So you just have some time to join, and then we will share with you your main interest. So the first question, I think, Sophia, we can jump into or let's give some seconds. That is, the first tool is to answer which is your main role as a climate. So we understand that you are here as a climate expert. So we saw most of you at the moment are researchers. You also come from education. Let's give for some minutes, of some seconds, because we have different screens. So it's quite interesting because it's a pity we didn't engage any policymaker, it seems, but it's good. It's quite positive to find that we have communicators, researchers, others. Maybe we can discuss at some point, or you can write in the chat if you identify as other. Please write in the chat why you consider as other, or how you feel, because you cannot, you didn't identify as one of the roles, which are the main roles that we consider. Okay, fundraising, project manager. Yeah, okay, I understand. It's somehow it's my role. Okay, let's jump into the next slide because we have around 30 answers. So how do you usually find climate-related knowledge, data, solutions? Which are the main tools that you use when you deal with on finding climate-related information? Okay, quite positive. Sure, Google and the scientific journals still being the main source on when getting information. Okay, we have around 30 answers. I think it's okay. Sophia, can we jump into the next, please? Now, so which is the biggest challenge for you when dealing with this? Just a couple words. A word is it's more than enough for setting this information. So many repeated information, like overwhelming, overload. No, it is how it's say intoxication. Too much information when trying to find the. I think it's quite interesting. Thank you for your contributions. Let's move to the next one, please. Yeah. So if you could design your ideal knowledge platform, what it helped you to do? So okay, so take your time if you need this information. This information may be shared afterwards for sure with the information, but I think we can. Is there any other? Because this is more complex to check, but it's quite interesting what I'm seeing on region specific info. For example, it's quite interesting. So thank you for sharing the information on this through this form. It really helped us to identify who you are and which are your main concerns. And now I give the floor to Sukaina Barwani from the Stockholm Environment Institute, who will introduce that on a deep dive on which is the Climate Connectivity Hub and the MAIA taxonomy. So Sukaina, please.
Thank you, Inigo. Really happy to have the opportunity to share the MAIA digital tools with you today. And it was very interesting to see the results from that poll as well. And I think a lot of those answers are hopefully things of relevance that we're going to try and address today. We're going to start with a deep dive into the Climate Connectivity Hub and the MAIA taxonomy. And I want to explain initially a bit about where we are currently in the development of the tools. So we're currently in the development, refining, and testing phase of the hub and the taxonomy, which we still do consider prototypes. So our goal here today and in the next couple of months is to gather feedback and improve the tool, ideally before the European Conference on Climate Change Adaptation in June, where we will share refinements and updates to the tools that we gather between now and then. So we plan on enhancing the tools beyond the lifetime of MAIA also. And so we would really encourage you all to get involved, use and test the tools, apply them where applicable in your own work, and do please provide us with feedback. At the moment, the hub is, just for your information, the hub is limited to a small data set or a smaller data set than the one I'm going to describe here to simplify testing and feedback. And we are continuously adding new data and refinements. So the hub is going to evolve over time. A link to the hub and to a feedback survey, along with the slides from this webinar and the recording, will be shared as soon as they're available as well. So what is the challenge that we are trying to address with these tools? As we all know and experience every day, we are subjected to an avalanche of information where this is scattered across different online spaces and resource hubs and platforms, making it hard to filter what's relevant. With too much information, limited time, it's also difficult to find, review, and apply what matters, to recognize what's high quality, credible information. I think this came up quite a lot just now in the questions on Menti. And a further issue is misinformation and conflicting resources, which undermine trust and hinder evidence-based action, helping us and our users know where to act and on what information to act. Additionally, scientific content is often technical and terminology varies across disciplines, complicating the ability to comprehend and understand how this information should be used. And ultimately, all of this hinders impact, affecting how well knowledge sharing happens and how well we can scale effective climate solutions. And furthermore, all of these issues are also compounded by a lack of standards in knowledge management. So often due to time and capacity constraints, many knowledge platforms use different approaches to describe their content, and that makes interoperability and knowledge sharing and connectivity almost impossible. Beyond basic knowledge sharing, that's quite difficult to do. As you can see, these are all well-known climate change platforms, and they're using terms or keywords or tags to describe their content. And these are all user or expert driven, but none of them are based on a common standard, which is quite challenging. So what is the solution? The ideal obviously would be to link fragmented content, to reveal connections and break down silos and build a shared understanding to accelerate climate action. So the Climate Connectivity Hub is a search and discovery tool, and it's designed to help users find relevant knowledge and organizations, particularly working in the areas of disaster and climate risk. It also uses AI and machine learning techniques to generate actionable insights for policy, research, and practice. And it connects diverse knowledge sources so that you can see connections at a glance, such as organizations with expertise based on project histories and their past collaborations. It can help to discover unexpected relevance, like links between adaptation and disaster risk reduction. And it can help improve discoverability by harmonizing the tags and keywords that are used on platforms and better connecting them with established taxonomies like the MAIA taxonomy, which I will describe shortly. It's mainly aimed at researchers, planners, practitioners in the areas of adaptation and disaster risk at the moment. And the taxonomy is what helps strengthen the connections across different topics and platforms to improve the accessibility and cross-fertilization amongst diverse actors. That is one of the core objectives of MAIA. So in terms of the objectives of the hub, they are basically threefold. The aim is to connect knowledge across platforms to enhance collaboration, coordination, learning, and also to highlight knowledge gaps. Another objective is to map the organizations working in different fields and to reveal collaboration patterns, highlight knowledge gaps, and also promote cross-disciplinary collaboration. And lastly, to surface emerging shared vocabularies from project outcomes that already exist to improve understanding and alignment across policy, research, and practice. And all of these things are achieved through a robust and dynamic approach that I'm going to describe, which enhances information interoperability. So in simple terms, what does the hub do? Here you can see, as shared earlier, this is an article on We Adapt, which has keywords. But when connected to the Connectivity Hub, these keywords are now linked to other projects in the adaptation and climate change landscape. So these blue nodes here highlight projects, and this orange node here is representing one of these key terms. So in this case, it's ecosystem-based adaptation, and it's linked to this project, and this project is represented by a blue node here. So if this project was clicked upon, the user would be presented with a summary, and this is the summary here. And the summary is just enough information for the user to know whether this content might be useful to them so they can explore it further. And if they were to click on the Read More button at the bottom, they would be redirected to the source website here. So the idea is that the hub is not just another platform hosting all of this data in another space like We Adapt is already doing, but rather it's promoting new audiences to visit existing platforms. And all of this is made possible because although platforms don't describe their data consistently, they do all usually have some things in common, like a project outcome entity, the organizations that contribute to that initiative or project, and the keywords used to describe that information. So these are the platforms that are included in the hub. The Cordis European Database on Research is a big part of this now, and this is one of the innovations of MAIA. Although it is a limited data set, as I mentioned earlier. So these are currently limited to Horizon Europe Cluster 5 projects, mostly focusing on climate neutrality and sustainable energy, and Destination 1 projects focusing on climate science and response, as well as the EU mission adaptation projects. But the idea is that we do want new platforms to come on board and share their data here. And if you're interested in that, please do get in touch with us, and I'll share more information on that shortly. So which taxonomies are included in the hub? We are pretty much still in an era of portal proliferation, where new climate change and project websites frequently emerge, but also disappear when funding ends, leaving little or no lasting impact, unfortunately. And at the same time, there are many emerging taxonomies and indicators that are being developed for various purposes, which also make it difficult to know which ones are relevant for our work. And these taxonomies serve different goals, from sustainable investment screening to tracking adaptation progress, evaluating project outcomes, or focusing on specific sectors. And a lot of these do differ from the types of taxonomies we're talking about here, specifically for knowledge management. And additionally, our work in this area has also revealed that there are significant gaps in taxonomies rooted in social sciences, which is also challenging for the kind of work that we're interested in around adaptation and disaster risk reduction. Some taxonomies that I've mentioned may actually complement the MAIA taxonomy, and these will be explored further. And examples of these are the Myriad EU taxonomy or the Society for Risk Analysis glossaries on multi-hazard and multi-risk terminology. And also, due to its strong foundation, we hope that the MAIA taxonomy might also support the development of the other taxonomies and indicators that I mentioned. So in order to create the hub and the taxonomy that drives it, more than 35 glossaries, taxonomies, ontologies, and knowledge graphs were reviewed, and about 15 of these were considered methodologically robust enough to be selected for further mapping and analysis against our seed taxonomy. So the seed taxonomy that is driving the hub is developed from the IPCC Sixth Assessment Report Glossary and the UNDRR Hazard Information Profiles, which are considered to be the most reliable sources for definitions in climate change and disaster risk. And therefore, these drive the hub, and they are the seed taxonomy. And this baseline serves as a reference to then map other reviewed data sets to identify synergies and gaps, definitions, alternative labels, broader and narrower terms, and scope notes. Scope notes are something that are crucial for the hub, and I'll explain those shortly, but they basically provide contextual information on a term's origins, its evolution, and its use across different fields and disciplines and communities. So extremely useful for identifying how things may be interpreted or applied or used differently in different disciplines. And how the hub works, this is the last bit of very technical information, but after creating the baseline taxonomy, a hybrid approach combining an automated and manual mapping method was applied to expand and refine the MAIA taxonomy. And this then dynamically connects the content in the hub. So data from platforms like Cordis and WeAdapt are harvested, and these are then, because they contain expertly curated keywords and these are valuable, a mapping process was first applied to these platform terms and those in the seed taxonomy to see if there are matches between them. And where keywords cannot be matched, they become candidates for consideration by experts. Additionally, a large language model is also applied to the data sets to suggest new candidate terms. So the LLM looks at the project summaries that are coming from these platforms, and it then suggests new terms that may or may not be part of the original seed taxonomy. These are then reviewed by experts and cross-referenced with other taxonomies to fill remaining gaps. And through this process, newly added terms improve the MAIA taxonomy and thus the hub's interoperability, making content better connected in the platform. So about 32,000 Cordis projects have been imported into the hub, and about 20% of these projects were successfully matched straight away to the MAIA seed taxonomy, already creating quite some degree of harmonization across the content. And 80% of these suggested new candidates. So these are really valuable. This is really valuable information in terms of trying to identify where there are gaps and where new terminologies may be necessary. So what can the hub do for you? As a practitioner, researcher, or planner, I'm going to very quickly show you some different user journeys through the hub and through the taxonomy that may serve different purposes. There are some elements of the hub that are useful regardless of your role. For example, this shows at a glance which projects, the blue nodes, the organization in the green node, which is SEI, has worked on, and the specialist topic areas, the orange nodes, related to this organization. So in this case, we are showing that SEI specializes in sustainability and knowledge co-production issues. And obviously it does have other areas of expertise, but these are the ones that are pulling expertise or key terms from the projects listed here, which are the ones coming from WeAdapt. Interestingly, if you look for SEI on the Cordis, through the Cordis data in the same landscape, other areas of expertise will show up like governance, renewable energy, gender equity, and so on. And the reason why different projects show up is also because of naming conventions and terminology issues, which I'll come back to if we have time. For project discovery, this shows another example where you may be looking for expertise in particular areas or particular projects on certain topics. And this shows all the consortium partners, the green nodes, and the topic areas, the orange nodes, that are covered by the project Climate Fit, which is the purple node, which is a project on resilient climate financing and investment task forces. And if you were to click on any of the green organization nodes here, you would also see what other projects these organizations are working on and what are their areas of specialization. So if you're a practitioner with thinking about different types of users, a climate change adaptation or disaster risk management practitioner might typically seek information that helps design, implement, and assess practical climate adaptation measures, or ensuring communities, sectors, and ecosystems are resilient to the impacts of climate change. And this could be in the form of plans, adaptation plans, sector-specific guidelines, or case studies and lessons learned where adaptation or disaster risk measures have been implemented. Additionally, they might find the hub useful in scoping adaptation strategies and good practice across different regions and learning about how similar hazards and risks are dealt with in different localities. So, for example, searching for community-based adaptation might bring up a range of results across several platforms. So this is showing at least 3 platforms here: WeAdapt, Cordis, and the Resilience platform. And this search could be refined to a particular region. So here, for example, Africa, and it can also be viewed in different languages. So this could be quite useful for different types of users. But then a researcher, for example, on adaptation might be interested in developing theoretical and practical frameworks and might be looking for information to advance understanding of extreme events and the effectiveness of different adaptation strategies. And if they, for instance, did a similar search on ecosystem-based adaptation, the relevant results that show up could include articles on the principles of EBA and the barriers and enablers to mainstreaming, integrating or scaling EBA, enhance resilience across diverse sectors, in this case, such as agriculture, forestry, and water resource management at different levels from community to national scales. But in addition, the researcher might also be interested in the definitions and scope notes that are embedded in those orange nodes, the keywords coming from the IPCC glossaries and the UNDRR glossaries, because these can illustrate important mismatches between terms and perspectives and users of these terms, and therefore potential misapplication. So, for example, a term may mean something slightly different in different contexts, and that means it might also link to different types of projects. And just to note here, also you can see how many projects and articles and organizations are connected to these key terms. The hub might also help to identify partners with specific expertise in a topic area with whom you might want to collaborate. And if you look at the synonyms, so synonyms in keywords here show up under the have you also considered field. So synonyms are alternative labels. So for EBA here, there is a suggestion that if you're looking up EBA, you might also want to consider the term nature-based solutions, which is sometimes used interchangeably, which may or may not be accurate, but it is something that's used interchangeably sometimes. And so you might want to then also search for organizations that are connected to nature-based solutions, but may not be connected to ecosystem-based adaptation. And in this example, ICLEI Africa could be a key organization to consider, as it does have expertise relevant to EBA, but it's not currently linked to that term. It's actually just linked to NBS. And lastly, for planners and for disaster risk managers, they might find the hub useful in clarifying national and regional policies that guide adaptation and disaster risk management, as well as legal and regulatory requirements such as environmental risk assessments. And the hub can also, in this case, help the discovery of funding and climate finance mechanisms. They might also be looking for information that helps assess risks, plan effective strategies, and implement actions to reduce risk. So for the same search on EBA, results might provide more technical material on aquatic or marine policy, ecosystem monitoring, conservation and restoration, biodiversity loss, and climate change effects on biodiversity, for example. But additionally, the user might also consider another suggested alternative label for EBA that showed up earlier. For example, ecosystem-based disaster risk reduction. This could be a term that's completely new to the user entirely, but if you click on that, you then see another landscape view of the knowledge and organizations connected to that, and it brings up a multitude of new results, and in this case, mostly from UNDRR's Prevention Web and a couple of other platforms as well. And lastly, a further innovation of the hub and its integration with the taxonomy is also its ability to identify knowledge gaps through missing connections in climate change projects. So for example, here we have an example of what we call an orphan project. This is something that can't be linked to existing candidates in the MAIA taxonomy. So when this automatic linking fails, and in this case for topics like the social aspects of transport or urban sustainability mobility challenges, the project is marked as orphaned, and this suggests gaps in the seed taxonomy, which may highlight the need for better keywords and new terms. And adding these terms through new sets of taxonomies can help cover emerging topics in the climate change field. And the more this happens, then the more orphan projects then start to become connected in the hub through future iterations of the taxonomy. And finally, the hub and the taxonomy provide various ways for different users to engage beyond simply searching and discovering information. We also have the hub API and the shareable open access MAIA taxonomy, which will soon be available for users to interact with. And use cases for this include, for example, where platform managers might use the hub API to ensure that their own platform data can be visualized in the connectivity hub. The taxonomy API could be used to import by knowledge managers to import into their own platforms and web apps. For example, providing access to a full list of the glossary terms from our seed glossary and the improved MAIA taxonomy. So that includes all the synonyms and scope notes, etc. And in the same way, tool developers might import the taxonomy into their own tools and data dashboards, providing more context in how these terms are used differently in different ways, but directly within their tool interfaces. So for example, here you can see that the taxonomy will support users of the Horizon Europe Directed Projects Data Fabric tool. This is the screenshot you can see here. And this will provide definitions and metadata for concepts related to flood risk modeling, risk governance, and information interoperability directly within the Data Fabric interface. And the taxonomy can also be made available on platforms like the MAIA project website and the Climate EU mitigation portal, We Adapt, and the Agora Community Hub. And we're exploring these different use cases to see what might be possible. So this was just a quick run through the Connectivity Hub and the taxonomy work that we have done through the MAIA project and that we would love your feedback on. And we ultimately hope that the different user journeys through the hub make the process of search and discovery of climate information at a glance lightweight and more efficient. And ideally, through the MAIA taxonomy, increased interoperability and enhanced understanding of how knowledge is described and used will lead to more transformative knowledge management by platform owners and thus facilitate accelerated learning, impact, and climate action. I'll leave it there for now. Thank you for listening. And if there's time, I can open the floor for questions or clarifications.
Thank you, Sukaina, for the really good explanation on the tool, quite comprehensive. So for the audience, as Mariana said on the chat, now we would like to be very brief, to not be out of time. If there is any question, you can write in the chat, you can raise your hand and activate your mic, and we will allow you, so requesting by speaking on the chat, and we will allow you to set any question to Sukaina about the showcase tool. So, for example, Kate Lonsdale asked how the MAIA Connectivity Hub might be used for monitoring and evaluation and learning, particularly at the national level.
Thanks, Kate. Yeah, it's a really good question. I think because there are lots of indicators being developed for MEL, and these are a lot of the indicators that are being developed that we've reviewed for MEL are actually things that can support the development of the taxonomy, and they are some of the things that we've been reviewing. So I think there's definitely scope for that. But again, it's trying to get to that degree of an alignment between the different terminologies and definitions and what makes sense in order to make sure they're applied consistently across projects. So I think, part of it is that there's a lot of different efforts going on in parallel and not necessarily harmonization between them. But this is part of the reason that we are really trying to support and facilitate a standardized approach to this, to at least climate change, adaptation, and disaster risk terminology, so that kind of evaluation is able to be more standardized. But I think it's an ongoing effort. But I think there's definitely scope for that. Absolutely.
Thanks, Sukaina. Also, Clint Garcia raised his hand. I don't know if we are able to.
Yes. Good afternoon, Inigo. Thank you, Sukaina. A pleasure to be here. Very interesting session. Very pleased to see what has been presented. I mentioned in the chat, it's just to bring your attention to something that I believe could be useful for MAIA. It's about a project in which my regional government participated in back in the previous Horizon program, Horizon 2020. And it was a project called Kindra Knowledge Inventory for Hydrogeology Research. And it was precisely with the purpose of making groundwater knowledge and research visible across the European Union. So the project worked on defining a classification system for the information, developing a European inventory on groundwater research, and we were lucky enough to be able to work with the European Federation of Geologists in order to build up what would be a solid repository with information related to groundwater research. So I put the link in the chat. Maybe if you could just have a look at it to see if it's useful, interesting, and it might give you maybe, I don't know, a different insight, even though it's quite old, because of course we're talking about the previous Horizon program. But many ideas you've advocated with your presentation made me feel quite happy to see that many people were trying to work on making information available, even if it's still in different, let's say, areas or sectors, right? We're talking about climate right now. Back then, we were talking about groundwater research, but the purpose is the same: making information accessible, usable, interoperable. The challenges we had back then was defining the classification system to make sure that the information was usable for everyone. We had the same terminology. We had to define a thesaurus. So I'm going to keep it at that. And I just want to say thank you very much. So now I'll shut up and good work. Good job.
Yeah. Thank you, Clint. Thank you very much for your contribution. We for sure we will review the information linked with the Kintra project in case, and I from the very brief look that I took, for sure we will find somewhere to collaborate. Okay, since I saw there is no more hands raised, let's move forward. So I would like to invite Dennis Havlik from the Austrian Institute of Technology to share his presentation about the Summarize tool. So Dennis, please, the floor is yours.
Getting organized. Okay, yeah, everybody sees my screen? Good. So what I'm going to present now is pretty much complementary to what you saw before. I'm calling it here Summarize. I'll explain you why, because it has too many names otherwise. So what's the idea? The idea is we have a whole lot of data, and we need to make knowledge out of it for other people to be able to digest it, to use it in their life, in their work, etc. And this is a very, very costly operation. So you need experts who know what they are doing, and they need to be paid. And then they need a lot of time to analyze this incoming data and make some kind of knowledge and knowledge services out of it. So now, thanks to the generative AI, it should be possible to do this faster. It should be possible to do this less expensive. And, well, obviously, cost savings and being able even to do things we weren't able to do is great. It can lead also to more personalized data, etc. The problem with this approach is that AIs generate misinformation. I just wrote to myself just 4 examples to give you an information, an idea of what I'm talking about. Yeah. So not just misinformation, but actually real disinformation, and in some cases this is per design. So, for instance, we had recently a case of Grok, who was answering people that who is the biggest spammer on Twitter. Yeah, it's Elon and Trump, of course. Yeah, and then Elon and Trump were not happy with it, and it got instructions not to say that. So the owner of a model imposed his own view of the world, and then everybody who is using his model is getting biased answers. Another example of this is DeepSeek. Don't ask him anything about Tianem and that kind of stuff, because it's been instructed not to answer correctly. And then there are just misinformation. Yeah, I went to the best of the class lately, and I asked it to explain me something about bicycles and traffic codes, and it got great explanation. But when I went into it, it turned out that it was misquoting the traffic codes. I also asked it recently for myself personally to tell me where are some good EU unicorn organizations where I could invest into, and it gave me one organization which I knew very well, which I've been using, and I was like, oh, that one had IPO, I didn't know. Well, it didn't. It gave me a ticker, it existed, that it's listed on Frankfurt, it wasn't. So be very careful with this. It can be just, you know, because it's that kind of a system, but it can be even because the owner of the system doesn't want you to know the truth. And unfortunately, this is getting realistic these days. So where are we now? we decided to find some use cases where this tendency of AI to produce some wrong information is not going to cause major issues. And also we decided to work with open source self-hosted models in addition to also being able to use those for OpenAI to be able to control the bias. And then we went through different projects and through different use cases internally at our organizations and found a couple of dozens of possible use cases and then follow up on some of them. What we came up with is that the good use of generative AI is to be used as an expert productivity tool. Why? Because we can tell the experts, listen, this thing will occasionally produce wrong answer. We will do all we can to make this visible to you, but in the end, you are expert. You should not go for real, obviously wrong things. We cannot tell this to the general public. And that's also a problem if any government today were to make, like ChatGPT as a governmental tool to inform citizens or in crisis management, it will not end well with the current technology. I'm sorry for that. So this is what I call the SumQA landscape. It consists of 3 tools. Each of them have their own name, but I think SumQA is enough. It's from summarizer and question and answer. Yeah? The first tool here is actually somewhat similar to what was presented before. It's just a small prototype which shows that we can do search through the documents which are from some trusted source, and that this search can be quite good actually. The Votractor is complementary to SumQA, and basically what it does is it tries to figure out, here is a document or a set of documents, and here are some taxonomies. So for each of these taxonomies, which terms are adequate for these documents? Why I say complementary? Because this is one of the questions which generative AI is not very good at answering on its own. The results we had with this tool are, so not perfect, but better than if you just ask it as a question in SumQA. And this is the actual tool we worked on most, which is actually quite simple. You can imagine this. There are quite a lot of tools which allow you to ask questions about certain documents these days, and this is one of them. The main difference is basically that you can choose AI model to use with it, and also you can choose the system prompt, which is a bit dangerous, so no public tool will allow that. And the most important thing is it's not interactive. It's meant to analyze a lot of documents at once. So basically you design a set of questions, you give it a set of documents, and you get a set of answers. This is how it looks like. So that's the user interface where you put the data, you put Excel sheet with questions, you choose some of the models. This is DeepSeek R1, not the original DeepSeek. This is really, thing hosted by OpenAI, just one of their systems, and these 3 are just standard, highly useful open source documents, open source generative AI models, which are like the top of the hill at the moment. System prompt, okay, so this is the default one. What is a system prompt? System prompt you can use to change personality of AI. So you are a mean guy who is lying to me, or you are a nice assistant, or whatever you are, and in whichever way you want it to answer, you're answering in a way so that young children can understand or something like that. This is what the output looks like depending on the question. So I'm personally quite fond of asking them to answer me with JSON, which is great if you want it as input to some software, but of course, not everybody is happy to do that. You can also work with normal text like usually. These numbers here, I will come back to them a little bit later once more. So what's the point of doing this? Well, processing multiple files is very nice and dandy because otherwise you waste time typing questions. Reusing the question templates. So actually designing good questions for AI is not simple. And it takes time, it takes knowledge. And once you have a good set of questions for certain documents, it's really good to keep it. Of course, as I just said, you can make JSON or something. You can export the stuff to use it in next step of anything. The good thing is that, well, since you can compare outputs of different AI models, you can see whether some of them are biased or whether some of them are censored. You can ask to get the thinking process. You get these references to text. That was those numbers I was referring to, etc. None of this is meant to be completely automated. As I said, occasionally these things make errors, and you don't want those errors to go in the next step without being controlled in some way. Once more, here what this output looks like, and here with these references. So there are these numbers again, and then you can just check them in the online tool. Or you can download the whole thing. You will get CSV with relatively simple formatting, and then do whatever you want with it and use it as input to additional processing or whatever.
Okay, so then
that's
please.
it basically. And I just wanted to mention this. There is a MAIA knowledge group. You will get a message after this meeting to join it. If you would like to test these tools, to talk with other people who have similar problems, also to learn about other tools, and then please just join us. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, Dennis, thank you so much for the explanation. Now I would like to give the floor. I would like to really thank the audience for the patience with a little bit out of time, but I would like to invite just at the end to Andrea Geller from Smart Cities Consulting to explain us which the MAIA Discovery services are and how they work, or how the research results may transform into a business case. So, Andrea, please.
Just one more thing, and that will be at ECHA. So if you are at ECHA, join us. We can have a talk and we can have demonstrations.
Yeah, thank you, Inigo. Thank you, Dennis. That was a nice introduction as well with ECHA. I make it quick because we're running out of time, and I just want to introduce the discovery services very briefly and invite you to engage in further discussions. Can I have the next slide, please? Hello. Somebody? Yeah, thank you. Very well, thank you. So climate change is a horizontal challenge spanning multiple stakeholder groups and domains, and collaboration is the key to successful and sustainable climate action. And the business sector plays a critical role for uptake as the knowledge, tools, and data generated in R&D projects fuels the improvement and novel development of products and services. And knowledge and best practices contribute also to improve the processes in operation. And last but not least, increased resilience for entire local ecosystems. So MAIA Discovery Services is an economic service. Next, please. My colleagues already mentioned the hardships on and the difficulties of the spread knowledge. There are also some figures to underpin this, the claims. I just want to highlight those relevant for local economies. So as in 2022, 57% of European regions were not aware of existing climate solutions in similar context. Which means the wheel is invented time and again, and the implementation is hampered by that, and not instead of being speeded up. And most of half a full-time equivalent person is spent per week to organize climate information and to keep track on climate information. Next one. So what we are trying to do is to streamline this and by making it more findable and also being able to reach out to persons and to go into best practices in a more hands-on approach than in the connectivity hub. But let me say that the connectivity hub will be integrated in the services. So this is something that will all get together. So there will be a database search that leads to an overview ready for further exploration. Further exploration would be with the connectivity hub, for instance. Then a smart matchmaking to offer demand and supply side. This shall accelerate the implementation, and also the stage of development is considered, because it makes a difference whether you want to procure innovation or you just look for technology to jointly develop further into a product or a service with the research community. And the regional context is respected. The peer regions to connect with are highlighted. So this refers to the 57% not aware of what's elsewhere already implemented or in work. Also best practices don't work in any context. So the legal context also needs to be considered. Next one, please. So basically, this slide summarizes what I explained before. I just want to highlight the importance of the regional branches and the regional hubs. So it's all about engaging existing local networks and initiatives, and on the next level, the respective regional hubs are interconnected for extended collaboration and for bridging regions as well. They are also encouraged to start mutual economic exchange programs, small economic exchange programs that are focused on a joint challenge or two joint challenges, and that are kept very nimble and operational. And the MAIA project can support this with the Trade Missions program, but this is a discussion for another day. Next one, please. So I have also a small graphic for you. You have the how it's all connected and how it's all brought together. The important issue is maybe that the MAIA discovery services can be embedded to any website and enrich it with actionable climate knowledge. So it is not the next portal or platform. And the upside is that the audiences of a web form or a platform that they use already and they trust can be reached via the MAIA discovery services. And the MAIA discovery services can inherit the trust that the audiences have in these websites and portals. Of course, the discovery services and the respective platforms and websites have to establish the trustworthy relations before. So an example for this could be that a local economic development agency, for instance, can provide access to European climate innovation communities via their website. without being in the first hand obliged to build up heavy resources on climate expertise on that. But they have the door to the entire European knowledge on that and tools and offer us. Next, please. So just to summarize the discovery services, there are three main key stakeholder groups that transform European regions with seamless climate actions. On the one hand, these are the regional authorities. They get support for making decisions and implement climate change pathways more robust and faster. The next stakeholder group are the innovators that gain visibility for their innovations automatically by integrating into the discovery services ecosystems. And last but not least, the businesses that find knowledge and solution that on the one hand can enhance their own climate-aware products and services and improve their processes. And it enables them to develop climate-smart business solutions or models. So that's it. I really rushed over it. Next slide, please. So thank you. You can reach out to me for exploring opportunities for your organization or your project, also on a bilateral basis. So drop me a note or connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrea, for all the questions. We are just in the end of the session. So next question, please. So next slide, please. So what's next, just before to conclude and farewell these and close the session. This is the launch event. So this was just a short introduction on the tools. On ECA, on the European Climate Change Adaptation Conference to be celebrated in Italy at mid-June, we are going to organize more in-depth sessions in the own venue. So keep updated about this information in case you are interested. Next slide, please. But in general, for the project, so to follow up any update related with the project, not just with the management knowledge tools or with the services or with any other activity, I would like to invite you to join the website, subscribe to the newsletter, or just follow us on social media, especially on LinkedIn, when probably it's easier for everybody to find any event or any update that we may share. So that's all. Thank you very much for your time. I hope this to be interesting for you and your organizations. And in case you have any questions related with showcased materials, do not hesitate to write us, and we will redirect, we will forward the relevant message to the relevant colleague, depending on the question that you may have. That's all. I hope you have a nice afternoon. Thank you so much.